Something about this season feels misaligned. You can sense it before the green flag, and you can still feel it after the checkered flag, because the tension isn't living in one corner of the sport right now. It's on the track, in the results column, and in the quiet spaces behind the scenes where teams try to keep problems contained. What happened this weekend wasn't just another tough race that you chalk up to bad luck and move on from. It was the kind of moment that makes you pause, because it looks like a symptom of something larger. Before we get into it, if you live this sport every week and you're here for direct, honest NASCAR talk, hit like and consider subscribing. This channel is new, and the early goal is 15,000 subscribers so we can build something solid from the start. Everything unfolded at Bristol Motor Speedway, and if you've watched enough races there, you already know why that matters. Bristol doesn't let you hide. The track has a way of exposing the truth about where a team is, because it compresses mistakes, pressure, and performance into a tight space where issues show up quickly and repeatedly. For Kyle Busch, Bristol didn't just reveal a rough afternoon, it revealed a season that still isn't coming together. Coming into the weekend, Busch sat 24th in points. There were no top 10 finishes on the year, and the winless streak had stretched beyond 100 races, reaching back to June 2023. Those numbers aren't background noise, they are the environment. They are the weight sitting on Richard Childress Racing, and especially on the number 8 group, every time they unload. When you're a team living inside that kind of stretch, pressure stops being an occasional visitor, it becomes the default. Then the race itself started writing the same story this season has been writing over and over. For long stretches, Busch was trapped in traffic, running near the back, fighting pace, fighting track position, never quite finding a clean rhythm. Nothing looked smooth, nothing looked settled. It wasn't one small issue you can isolate and correct. It looked like a day where the car and the circumstances kept pushing him into the same uncomfortable places, and then lap 313 happened. Riley Herbst got into Busch's left rear in turn 2, and the number 8 went around in traffic. That's the kind of moment that can swing a race, but spins happen, contact happens. Bristol is Bristol. The reason people are still talking isn't only the spin itself, it's what followed, immediately and unmistakably, after the car rotated. Because after that incident, Busch stayed completely silent on the radio. No reaction, no instant frustration, no heated rundown of what just happened, not a word. In a sport where the radio often becomes the first place emotion shows itself, that silence landed like an alarm bell. Up on the spotter stand, Derek Nealon tried to pull the situation back into a workable shape. You could hear frustration building in the background, and you could hear Nealon trying to get ahead of it before it turned into damage the team couldn't undo. He acknowledged what everyone already knew. The group was frustrated, and running around 30th wasn't acceptable. But he also put a hard boundary around where this could go. Yelling at each other wasn't going to fix anything. They needed to stay together. Then came the exchange that felt like the clearest snapshot of the team's current state. Under caution, Nealon tried again to bring everyone back together. He reminded them they were still in the race. He told them they needed to stay united. And then there was silence, enough silence that he asked if they copied. Pullman answered with 4 words that carried more weight than a full minute of shouting. It is the same thing every week. That wasn't just irritation at one incident. That sounded like belief fading. It sounded like someone who has been living with the same problems long enough that he can't pretend they are temporary anymore. And while that argument played out, while the radio went tense and sharp, Busch still didn't say anything. Not during the spin, not during the back and forth, not when the team tried to reset. For a driver like Kyle Busch, an emotional driver, a vocal driver, a driver who has been involved in everything for years, that kind of silence can be the loudest part of the entire situation. When a 2-time champion goes quiet during a moment that loud, it doesn't read like calm, it reads like a different kind of strain. It can feel like someone is checked out, or like someone is tired of repeating the same points without seeing any change. Either way, it tells you something about where the mindset might be right now. The finish only reinforced the picture. Busch ended the race 26th, multiple laps down. Another result outside the top 10. Another day where nothing clicked. And at this point, it's hard to label that as a single bad race. This is the season. No top 10 finishes, 24th in points, and a winless streak that's now beyond 100 races going back to June 2023. Add in the fact that it's been 2 straight seasons without making the playoffs, and what you're looking at isn't a small slump. For a driver of Busch's level, it's a serious problem. This is where the second story matters even more than the first. The radio audio wasn't just heat from one difficult Bristol afternoon. It exposed what looks like real separation lines inside the No. 8 group. You have a crew chief who sounded like he was running out of answers. You have a spotter trying to hold things together with reminders about unity and staying focused. And you have the driver at the center of the entire operation saying nothing while it's happening. Those pieces don't usually coexist for long without something changing. From the fan perspective, you can feel it too. Something has to change. And looking ahead, that creates real pressure on the next races. If they don't find speed, if they don't fix communication, and if they don't build momentum, then what we saw at Bristol starts looking less like a bad day and more like the beginning of the end of this situation. That's a wild thing to say about Kyle Busch and a major organization, but the evidence fans are reacting to is not subtle. It's in the points position, it's in the lack of top 10s, it's in the winless stretch, and now it's in the way the team sounded when the pressure hit. The part that makes it even more concerning is the calendar. We're not even halfway through the season. There is still time to turn it around. There is still time to find speed, rebuild confidence, and maybe even sneak into the playoffs. But based on what we saw and heard at Bristol, that kind of turnaround would take more than a small tweak. It would take a major shift, not just in performance, but in mindset inside that team. Because talent isn't the issue here. Busch's ability isn't suddenly gone. The question is what's happening deeper in the operation, how the pieces are working together, how problems are being diagnosed, and whether the team still has the shared belief required to climb out of a hole like this. When communication turns into yelling, when the spotter is pleading for unity, and when the driver goes silent, it suggests something more structural is off. That's why the next few races are going to tell everyone a lot. Either the number 8 team finds a way to reset, tighten up communication, and finally build momentum, or the same frustrations will keep stacking until the situation gets worse. And if it gets worse, then this isn't only a conversation about one bad season. It becomes a conversation about a breaking point between Kyle Busch and Richard Childress Racing. NASCAR moves fast, opportunities come and go, and drivers at Busch's level typically do not remain in struggling situations forever if they believe they still have options. That's what makes Bristol feel like a signal moment. It could be the start of a comeback, the moment where a group finally confronts its problems and turns the year around. Or it could be an early marker of a split that becomes more realistic the longer the results and the relationships keep trending the wrong way. Either way, it feels like we're getting close to finding out. Now it's on the table for fans to weigh in, because there isn't one simple answer here. Is it the car? Is it the team? Is it chemistry? Is it something deeper that's been building so long it's now wearing everyone down? Whatever the cause, what we heard out of the number 8 radio channel sounded bigger than a bad setup or a rough Bristol race. It sounded like a team that has been living the same problems long enough that the repetition is becoming its own kind of damage. If you enjoyed this and you want more real, straight NASCAR conversation as this story develops, leave a like, it helps the channel grow, and subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report. We're just getting started, and the target is 15,000 subscribers. And most importantly, drop your take in the comments. Do you think they can still turn this around this season, or do you think this is already heading toward the end? I'll see you in the next one.